So quickly, my name is Sheon, and I'm the lead editor of Mariblock. Mariblock is an information company uh, with the goal of exploring, how blockchain and digital assets are solving African problems. Right, and this conversation is part of our International Women's Day series. Right, and the goal for us is honestly, we wanted to like have a conversation that goes beyond the typical celebrating women in this and that, which is great in its own, but we're like thinking, how can we take it further, right, and explore how blockchain, can be a tool for gender equality in Africa, right? And for us, that means that, and I think we got that from the uh, United Nations Women theme for the year that says digit all and innovation and technology for gender equality. And as you would agree, blockchain is an innovative technology in its
Yeah.
own. So we just thought, let's bring it home and have this conversation, right? So I think it just helps, right? I know you probably have answered this several times, right? But it just helps for you to like just give us a little bit of introduction about yourself and you know how blockchain became a thing for you.
All right. Thank you so much, Shion, for having me. It's awesome. The initiative is great. Immediately I got the email, I was extremely excited and impressed, at the same time. So I'm honored to be here today. My name is Buki Ogunsakin, and I'm an emerging tech lawyer. How did I come about blockchain? Okay, first, right now I practice on my own. So I run BBO Solicitors, which is an emerging tech firm. We primarily concentrate on emerging technologies, data privacy, and cybersecurity. I'm also a consultant with Interstellar Inc., which is a blockchain infrastructure organization. And I just completed a contract as well with Lagos Business School as a crypto consultant with them as well. So that's just a brief for circling around what I currently do. Coming into blockchain, I'd say like most people, I stumbled upon it. I was actually interested more in cybersecurity. So cybersecurity was where I was concentrating on. And down the line, having attended many events, I came across this new technology called blockchain. And that's how the whole rabbit hole, falling down the rabbit hole basically began. I attended a webinar, and the keynote speaker was introducing to us blockchain technology, and I found it extremely exciting because I had been circling in cybersecurity and data privacy for a while, but I knew that there were certain concerns within the cybersecurity space, and so blockchain technology presented itself as a possible solution for some of the issues that we were having in cybersecurity. So that's how I stumbled into it. I now began to do a lot of research in the area. I joined a fellowship, which was a 6 month fellowship, and I did another one, which was a 12-month fellowship. And that's how I just started, into the industry basically.
So I think
Okay.
that is interesting to learn, right? Because I think it's kind of a similar story for everyone, right? Something brings you into the space, you come in for,
Mhm.
maybe one particular thing you need to like solve at a point in time, and then you stay for the technology, and that's kind of the same thing for me, right? But just to like drive this conversation directly to what we're trying to talk about, right? Because of time. Uh, what would you say it has been like being a woman in blockchain?
Well, for me, um, going into blockchain, the person that I had as a mentor was a woman. So I really didn't feel like there was a lack of women in the industry. I met a particular lady, and we started going down this trail together. We're both lawyers, started converting in the area, doing certain work in the area, and we both did one of the research programs together. So I had a few women that were on the research program. So I didn't really feel that void. I think the area where I started feeling some sort of void is attending conferences. When you start attending conferences, then you see that the population of women compared to men is a little, sparse, if I can call it that. And then also maybe speakership roles, if I'm called to speak at an event. I probably will be one of two women or the only woman. So for those areas, I now began to feel that little gap. But what I have done so far is to be part of teams that are quite diverse. So, for instance, at Interstellar Inc., we're quite diverse. We have women developers. Although I'm the only female lawyer on one side, we have another female lawyer on the other side. So when you try to pick or select the teams that you're part of, you try to select teams that have diverse selection of people. So you have women, you have men, you have people from around the world. Blockchain is pretty diverse because many of the projects that you find yourself on, you are most likely not the only Nigerian. There are people from around the world on the project. So it's quite exciting. But having said that, for the other aspects where we still have this void of women, for instance, I know that women founders are about 8% of in the entire blockchain industry, which does not represent enough of women. So we can see that there's a void there as well. Um, like I said, for conferences and speakership roles, there are not enough women. So I think we need to go out there, just like what Mary Block is doing, educate more women, um, sensitize more women about the entire industry and what they could bring in, the value that they could actually add to the industry. And I think that that would help in raising the amount of women that are actually interested in the space right now.
All right, great. That's interesting to like learn. And I was going to say earlier because you said you didn't feel like there was a void. I was going to ask maybe that's because I mean you're a lawyer, right? I'm sure maybe the people on the side of the more technical side like developers and all of that would feel that way. We
Right.
spoke to Oluchi, the Web3 ladies founder, right, and who
Okay.
claims to be the first female blockchain engineer in Nigeria, and it was a very interesting conversation
Mm.
for us. And then it was just around. I think the theme of that conversation felt like, say, if you want to get community is very important to like getting more women into the space, right?
Mm.
And
Okay.
so, what would you say would be, the most important thing for you, right? To the most important tool for getting more women involved in the space, right? And what would you say also on back of that? I would also like you to like speak to, the popular misconceptions that maybe women might have about this space.
Uh, I think first of all, for trying to get more women involved, definitely with blockchain, community is important. Communities are where information is mostly disseminated for blockchain industry and where people gather together to generally discuss things that are happening within the ecosystem. So definitely community. Number two will be education, awareness. Like I said, sensitizing. We need to get into real communities now, physical communities, not just the online communities. Physical communities where there are women and educate them about blockchain. Just the same way I attended a webinar and somebody started discussing blockchain. I think if we have more information getting out there, women will generally be more interested. And for me as a woman, I believe that blockchain presents a whole new set of opportunities for me. Prior to being in the blockchain industry, I was restricted as a woman, if I can use the word restricted. For instance, if I wanted to be a top lawyer, I would have to be working at a top law firm. I would be working crazy hours, Monday to probably Sunday, traveling a lot and all of that. I'm not saying that the blockchain industry doesn't include that, but for me, the blockchain industry presents the opportunity to work remotely because we do mostly remote work, even though remote work is now more general than it was previously. But I think the blockchain industry has taken that, to another level where I'm able to work with projects from around the world from the comfort of my home. And then it also presents the opportunity to earn in different currencies as opposed to, previously where you were restricted to earning in only your local currency. So that presents another opportunity for women, especially. And we know that women have certain other duties that prevent us from necessarily flying in the corporate world, like the hours that we, spend at work and all of that. You can now multitask in a much easier way. So I think if women are educated about this and are aware of this, or are even presented with opportunities to do this, I think it will be more interesting for them, and it will be more exciting for them to join. Having said that, I would also like to, emphasize that the blockchain industry is also very diverse, like I said initially. They're not necessarily looking at your race or your sex. It just depends on your gender. It depends on your ability to do the work, the skills. And so we can educate women about these skills, we can teach them, and I'm sure they'll be more open to learning. Then there's the flip side as well, which is the users. Users we find that are more male as well instead of women, because women generally are more afraid. I don't want to get involved in all these blockchain thing you people are talking about, or Bitcoin is for fraudsters, and that general misconception that is out there. I think that education and awareness as well will correct some of that. You find some women even label males who are in the industry as either 419 or fraud. They're just some misconceptions that are generally out there. So I think part of that awareness and education will also correct, some of those misconceptions that people have, and attract more women, because women are generally less risk takers. So considering that the crypto industry is quite risky, you find that many of them would avoid it. But I think with education, they will be more likely to begin to jump on board.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you very much. And just to like also take it forward a little bit, we've talked about now I think we've talked about getting more women involved in the space. I think one thing that I'm also curious to know that we are exploring at Mariblock is the technology itself, right? At the particular way it can be used to uh, foster gender equality, beyond just getting women to work in the space, beyond getting more female users to, you know, just the very way it's designed, right? We spoke to someone who was able to get into as a creative, start on this platform called Steam It, right? And was able to, and it was little, but I think it was just it felt pretty good to her, right? That I didn't need to ask for permission to do this, right? So just in your opinion, and maybe in your experience, and maybe the people you've worked with, just how do you think the technology itself can foster gender equality, especially within the African context?
I think within the African context, I always tell people that blockchain is an opportunity for us to leapfrog. We've heard this a million times, a million and one times, and the truth is that is really true. Blockchain has so many use cases. You could be a woman in supply chain, you could be a woman in logistics, you could be a woman in fashion. There are people creating NFTs, even though it became mostly fad, or is it what we call, was just popular for a while. But aside from that, NFTs regarding tokenization. So you can tokenize anything that is a physical asset can actually be tokenized. So any woman that is dealing with anything, you see women dealing with jewelry. I attended a particular webinar, and this lady was creating she is creating jewelry for online presentation. So like now that I'm on this call, I could be using her digital earrings, for the meeting, or digital necklace, designing really beautiful pieces. And even during the webinar we were having, many of the presenters, had have had digital earrings on. So there's so many ways that women can function in this space. The skills that they have already, they could bring it into the space. It's just about adapting it with the new technologies. Like you mentioned, UI UX designers are designing so many things. There's digital fashion, There's the metaverse where you can go and work. Web3 is so wide, and like I said, blockchain itself has so many use cases. um Web3 is basically the next iteration of the internet. So anything that you have on Web2 now, you can actually have in Web3. There's AR, there's VR, there's MR, there is, I can go, the list goes on and on. So any woman um selling goods. I had a particular lady who came to us to find out how she could convert her e-commerce website for some of her baby things that she was selling, and she wanted to convert it to augmented reality or virtual reality. But she wanted to do it in 2D format first prior to moving into 3D, because the 3D would have been more expensive than 2D. So there are women that are thinking of being innovative in the space, trying to create new things, in different environments. You can even become an innovator in the space as a woman. Whatever idea it is that you have, you could actually look for people, collaborate with others, and try and convert this into the Web3 reality of blockchain space. So I believe that if people, again, are educated about the underlying technology itself, what is possible on the technology, and then the layer out the ecosystem for them. So maybe like the applications, so they understand what the applications are, tokenization, NFTs, DAOs. You can even create organizations in this, blockchain space. When they understand those concepts, I think many women will begin to upskill themselves and begin to function in this new ecosystem that we find ourselves discovering.
All right, great. And I think that you made a lot of good points there. Just like seeing how you can adapt things that are already existing in the Web2 world, right? And then kind of upgrade it into the Web3 world. But I want to come a little closer to home as I just start wrapping this up, right? And that would be you're a lawyer, right? And I'm thinking about women. I'm sure I know a few myself that are women that are like thinking, how do I get started in the space, right? And I feel like there are probably going to be a lot of career paths for lawyers, right? Generally, regardless of your gender, going into the Web3 space, there will be just working with companies, and I'm sure that as smart contracts, the idea of smart contracts kind of like expand, right? Would need more lawyers in the space. So I'm just curious to like say, what would you say are the career paths for a female lawyer, right? And because what I love the most about blockchain is how permissionless it is. If either I'm a man or a woman, as long as I can create something that people can use, it works, right? Yes. So I was just trying to ask if you could like speak to the idea of how women can get started as lawyers, right, or legal practitioners in the Web3 space. That I'm sure that a lot of women will find out valuable.
Yes, okay. Firstly, I'd like to address the aspect of smart contracts. I've had this people ask me this question several times at different conferences to say, does the introduction of smart contracts mean we don't need lawyers anymore? And I say no. The introduction of smart contracts does not mean you don't need lawyers anymore. Lawyers still have a lot of work in the space. The ecosystem is so wide. If we begin to defragmentize it, we'll be here all day. So there's a lot of work for lawyers. That's the first thing. The second thing is that for lawyers, I would advise starting with research. Maybe because I started with research, because you need to understand the technology itself. You need to understand the ecosystem. There are several aspects that you need to break down and look at more intimately for the details to be able to understand. Many lawyers believe that you don't need to understand the underlying technology to be able to function as a lawyer. Um, in that respect, some parts of that is correct, but because blockchain is an emerging technology and there are newer aspects, it is a technology we've never experienced before. I usually suggest that understand parts of the underlying technology first before going into the space. Now, having said that, so once you concentrate on doing some research in the space, you can also begin to volunteer on different projects, be part of the community. So volunteer, be part of communities, join several communities. There are several communities on Discord, there are several on Telegram. You can join Clubhouse. There's several discussions on there about blockchain technology. And once you are listening to this and learning, you begin to understand the space more and then probably be able to carve out a niche for yourself. That takes me to the next point, which is probably niche down. You might not want to do everything, or certain aspects might be more interesting to you than others, but you can, that's why research is important. So you go around, discover all the different parts. Are you more interested in Web3 and the metaverse part, or you like the NFT aspects, or you like blockchain infrastructure? That's how they build, the contracts behind that, the agreements behind that, whether it's private and permissionless or public and permissionless, whether it's Hyperledger or Ethereum or Polygon. There are so many aspects of it that you can actually go into. So once you get involved in that sort of way, you begin to know the areas that you're interested in. I also always tell people, look for a mentor. Having a mentor in the space is extremely important because they've gone before you. They understand certain things in the space, and so it's easier. Then my final point is that for me, a lot of lawyers tell me, I can't go into blockchain. Oh, it's too difficult. It's like maths. It's like engineering. For lawyers, you hear them say that. I've had somebody who is like 25 years at the bar tell me, Buki, I can't get into this thing anymore. It's too complicated. We'll leave it for the younger ones. And I believe that is not so. We have older people who are interested in the space, who are functioning in the space and doing very well in the space. It's all about taking baby steps, trying to find out a little bit about, researching about it. I send people research materials all the time. So there are so many aspects you can focus on. Or if the underlying technology part is too complicated, you can start from agreements, contracts. Those are less complicated. Drafting a contract between two people in the blockchain space. Or you can start with fintech. Fintech gets you like a leg into before you get further into emerging tech. So fintech is just generally financial technology. Once you are able to function in that fintech space, definitely you'll be able to function in the blockchain space as well. So these are different steps that one can take, if you are interested in the legal aspects of blockchain technology. And truly, once you get into it, it just keeps rolling and rolling, and more work keeps coming in different places and different projects, and you just generally find it more interesting. So I'd like to encourage more lawyers. If you are listening to me and you're a lawyer out there, especially a female lawyer, please, the blockchain space awaits you. There's so much exciting things happening within the space, and we need to come into the space to project impact, especially because there's no regulation, there are no policies, and we really need all those frameworks in the space as we go forward with blockchain technology.
All right, great. I know you have to go, but I just want you to talk to this last thing, and I think it's going to be very important because the blockchain space is kind of a truly global space, and I'm just curious for the African lawyer and maybe female lawyer, because that's what we're talking about here. How do you compete globally, right? Because you have different jurisdiction, with different kind of regulations and stuff like that. How do you compete? And then Africa is not the biggest market, it's still the North America, Europe. So how do you compete globally?
I was having this conversation with someone yesterday. In fact, another lawyer in this space. The truth is, it's tough. Law is tough. Knowing the regulation in Nigeria alone is tough enough, tough as nails. And then you now include having to educate yourself about laws in Africa, EMEAA, the US, and all of that. For instance, I do data privacy. I have to know the laws in the US. I have to know EU laws, GDPR. I have to know NDPR. I have to know CCPA in the US. So right now, because the space is more global now, that now means your knowledge needs to be more global. you need to be more current with news that are happening. And the news comes at you so fast because things are happening in the blockchain space at light speed. What you knew 4 months ago, you might find that you are obsolete, right now if you are not current with the information. So that's not to discourage anybody, it's just to say you have to develop a scheme of working in such a way that you are current on all grounds. For instance, let me just give an example. Like with NFTs now, we know that NFTs, we don't even have any case on NFTs in Nigeria. And as a lawyer functioning in the NFT space, I need to know the cases that are going on in US, Singapore, India, Dubai, and all of those places. So generally for us, what we do is for interns, the interns will have to gather information on all the cases that are happening on a global scale. And then we have to go through this information. So it doesn't mean you need to go through everything with a fine tooth comb, like know all the, nitty gritty of the cases, but at least the general information you need to have. So you generally have to find a way to go around that information, or you can subscribe to journals, news bodies who carry global crypto information. So whatever kind of information it is that you need, subscribe to news bodies, channels, journals, papers, online newsletters that carry all those information, so you can digest that information really quickly. Secondly, we need to collaborate more. Like I said, for blockchain, we need to work with lawyers. I need to work with lawyers on a global scale, like a lawyer in Estonia, another one in the US, another one in Dubai, compare notes. Because previously, if you were in a law firm, you were just comparing notes with the people in your law firm. Now you're comparing notes to people on a global scale. So you have to network, very important. Attend global events, network with lawyers in other spaces so that you can converse with them. What's happening now in Estonia? Oh, they're doing new licenses. The previous licenses are now old. You get that information quickly, as opposed to just staying by yourself in Lagos. It will be very difficult to function if one does that. So it's important to network and collaborate within the space. Put yourself out there. LinkedIn is a very good tool now. I'm always on LinkedIn on a daily basis. I'm sure many of us are. In fact, I check people, I send messages to people on LinkedIn and I say active now, active now, active now. And I'm like, everybody's on LinkedIn, connecting, discussing, on a daily basis. So you need to put yourself out there as a blockchain lawyer and make sure that you are right in the middle of at least the beat of everything that is happening. And once you do that, it makes the work much easier. So you're able to function better.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. And I think I was going to just say that because as I was listening to you just describe, having to you have to know what is happening in the US, and I'm like, there's no way you can do this without good networking. And I think that's a conversation we need to maybe go into at another time. And I'm sure we would reach out because it will be very important to either, and this would cut across genders, right?
You need to teach women too, because many women don't like to network. But the truth is, in this modern time, you need to learn how to network. It's very important. So that's another skill. That's not necessarily a blockchain technology skill, but that women need to have. We always leave those things for men to do. Men know how to gel with each other. They attend an event, they are already speaking to 4 or 5 people, but women, we just stay in one corner, So we can't do that anymore. We have to, and not just physical events now, online. Put yourself out there. I always ask mentees, they ask me, I don't know how to get to this person. Did you check this page on LinkedIn? Did you that? My LinkedIn profile is not functioning. If it's not functioning, how are you going to get yourself out there? Do you understand? So
yeah, I do.
Little things like that. Yeah.
All right, great. This has been very good for us, right? Because I think when we had this conversation, we would we wanted to have a theme, something that would say this is what this conversation turned out to be about, and I would say we kind of got that here. And that will be very important for what we're working on. But just before you go, is there maybe something you expected that we would talk about, just you want to add quickly?
It's just to inspire women out there. Thank you for what you are doing at Mary Block. We want to inspire more women. Let's have this conversation spread, have more people share it out there so that we have more women, come into this space. And women, we have very unique qualities I believe, can bring to the fore. And you know what this saying about, if you educate a woman, you educate a whole village. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like educating one woman, because she will end up educating her kids, the whole family, her community. And this whole digital economy is so, so important. So once you are able to teach one or two women, it just begins to spread. So the work is extremely important. Is a lot of work, but I believe that because women are multipliers, it makes it slightly easier, where once you are able to gather few women, it just begins to multiply in that effect, giving them opportunity to go out there, become global, earn a living in a different way, have more hours to themselves in their homes with their families, and still be able to be career women. I think it's a plus all the way, and so it's very important work that Mary Block is doing. So well done to the entire team.
All right. Thank you so much for the kind words, right? We would be reaching out to you again and again just to have this conversation. There's a lot of things for us to explore. And
Exactly.
yeah, but thank you so much for
Mm.
the day. And just do enjoy the rest
Thank
of
you
your
for
day.
having me.
All right. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
You too. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right now. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.